that you're learning. You know, like Bill was saying about no books, it's like the book of nature is the one we're here to learn to read, and you'll find a plant that calls to you that you could become an expert at. Like one I grow is Job's Tears, which is I do the beat, keep the beat, and I also do this one called Job's Tear, which is a plant that has a hole in it, and you can grow a necklace, and they grow this. Every culture has this one. So find one plant even and get to know it and make it your totem plant and make a relationship. What was your question?
My question was in regard to the chickens. Both of you keep chickens at your home?
Yes.
And well, you live on a farm, right?
Well, I live in the middle of City Heights at a nursery. I guess you could call it a farm. An urban farm. There you go.
And how do you work those chickens into your urban farm? You have a coop. You let them just free throughout the day in the yard. How do they interact with your garden? Can you just speak on that?
I'll answer that. Chickens is an interesting thing. For one, you need to meet the code to keep them. So you need to have a space that has a minimum of, I think it's 25 feet from the nearest dwelling.
It depends actually on the city that you're in.
Depends on, so you can look it up and see what's the regulation. It's not just, you can keep chickens and the code enforcement will come and take it up apart. So that you need to consider that and see what you're doing legally. That's why I was talking about easing some of these regulations to allow people to keep plants and animals, not in a commercial sense. You know, having 3 chicken or 2 layers is no big deal. But having like 5,000 chicken in my backyard, the neighbors, it's right for them to complain. So the other thing is that we talked about the construction. We built a coop, so it's got a section where they lay the eggs. There's a ground section where they can scratch, and you have your feeders and your watering there. And there's a compartment that they spend the night in. And what I do is I raise it up so it's a little higher, as high from the ground as they can climb by themselves. So it helps keep it dry, it helps keep it from other predators that might be crawling in your yard. And then it keeps them warmer because hot air rises. So the higher you have your birds, the better it is for them at night. So you don't need to heat their dwelling. So that unit for my setup, I can close up that. So they can feed and go back and scratch around without intervention. But when I open the gate, they're able to graze in the yard. There's layers of gates, sort of. So sometimes, depends on what I have growing out. Like right now, they're just grazing out. Because whatever they can reach, I want them to reach and kind of help dig the soil. There are also tractors out there. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, let's get some more of the questions. Let
him finish that.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, do you let them free range in your garden? Do they eat all
Supervised.
the vegetables if you don't watch them?
Supervised, because
Yeah.
I'm not only keeping chicken, I've also other lettuces which they liked. I need to control how much of that they eat. I need to say, okay, this one's at the lower leaves, I'll feed it to you.
Okay.
Or this section, I'm planning to tear it apart anyways.
So you have to regulate how much you're willing to share with them.
Yeah.
Right, and
but they live in that property. They have to eat like you eat. So,
and
it's
keep
kind
it,
of a balance. But I don't run a lawnmower at the back. They mow all that grass. They keep the pests down. So there's also a win-win for them being out there.
gardening is a change in lifestyle. If you're going to have chickens, you're gonna be out there taking care of them. You're not going to be in the house on the computer or TV set. Gardening is the same way. And bee raising, it all takes some attention. There's sometimes we don't have to give it all attention, but when you let chickens out to graze, you keep an eye on them because they're predators, and you're not much worried about them flying away as something getting a hold of them, which can happen in a heartbeat, like with the hawks. But at night they go in and they're in a secure area, and we're talking about having, when we had the fires in East County, we had mountain lions and stuff, there were things that were in our neighborhoods that tried to get to our animals, and we're in a fenced off area and have a horse and stuff. Is it legal to have a horse? Probably not. But my neighbors know about it. Your first egg should go to your neighbors. you know, as a mission of peace. I mean, seriously, if you do something and it's annoyance, you're going to get in trouble. The code department doesn't have enough people to check every single person's backyard, but they're going to check. They have to check if somebody complains. It's by law that they have to. So that's the way that things are going to happen. And I feel the more people that have chickens, when they start to change the laws or get them to change the laws, the easier it's going to be because there's going to be so many people doing it. You know? Yes, sir.
I was, well, you, the girl here, you're in University Heights?
I am.
So
Yeah.
you're in a very urban area?
I am.
I know you are, but you have a different
Yes.
situation. But you're in a standard flip home.
I am, but our property line, we're pretty, one of the problems with the regulations, it's, the one in San Diego proper is actually 50 feet, if you can believe that, from a dwelling. And that's pretty much prohibitive for most residences to be in compliance, and perhaps that is why the law was written the way that it was written, and there are people working to make that more reasonable, as he was suggesting. But our particular property actually has a sizable front yard, so they live in the front yard, and I'm able to be compliant with that regulations of 50 feet from a dwelling. It's not just from your house, it's from all houses, so you have to go and make sure that, you know, so even if you manage to get it 50 feet away from your house, you may have just crossed the line and caught it in front of.
And how large a flock do
You
you
can have
have?
up to 25 in San Diego proper,
Really?
but the regulations change, and there's many things that you have to consider. I'm actually doing a chicken workshop tomorrow, if anybody's interested. I don't want to take up too much time, but you have to consider noise where the laws are written is all over the place. So you have your animal control issues, you have your sanitation issues, you have your homeowners associations, you have your noise violation. So there's many things that you have to do yourself to really kind of double check and make sure that somebody's not going to come in and take away your flock. But in San Diego proper, the quick and dirty answer is approximately 50 feet from a residence.
And the roosters?
Don't need one to
Roosters
have
are-
chickens.
Yeah,
And
they are
the
illegal.
variety is the standard variety that comes, I mean, are you getting heirloom chickens, or are you getting the variety that I can buy at the store with the big breasts that can't walk? And
No, I'm not.
So-
Yeah, I'm personally getting heirloom. You can get all different kinds. There's every color of the rainbow chicken that you can possibly imagine.
Thank
They're
you.
really quite
In
magnificent.
the back?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could comment on the soil that you guys had as soon as you got it. Did you prep it or import it? Or
Soil is the
and
key.
also water.
Yeah.
You use the water.
Soil is the key to any success. It's also the key to saving water. And what you need to do is to take a sample of your soil and figure out what the sand, silt, clay, organic matter ratio is. And that can be, you can come to the nursery, we can answer that. But by finding that you're having enough organic matter, which is going to entail hold enough moisture, finding that you can have enough nutrients. You know, compost has some nutrients in it, but might not have what's necessary. But by also watching the plant grow, you can see what the deficiencies are and correct it. And also, starting with the soil, prepping the soil properly, using mulches, that'll be the key. And you know, there's one thing that, and probably some people will disagree with me on, be careful what you put in the soil. If it's too good to be true, there might be something wrong with it. So just be careful what you amend your soils with. Other questions? Yes?
Just curious, with your chickens, do you have enough where you can harvest the chicken manure or let them defecate in your compost? Or
I do. So I have an enclosure. Do you mind if I?
No, what?
I have an enclosure where they sleep at night, much like Malaki was saying, keep them safe from predators. And so I have basically where they're roosting, there's a big collection. So what I do is I compost that litter with my regular compost. And it's significant. I have 8 chickens in the city, and so it's a significant amount of poop, which is something you need to consider when you're getting chickens.
One other thing for those that don't have chickens but have a dog, you can actually compost dog manure by using worms, vermiculture, but you can't use it on edibles. But another way of recycling manure is by having worms take care of it and putting on ornamentals, which is something to consider.
Okay, I realize there's more questions, and we'll all be available, I'm sure, for a bit after. I want to start this film here, and let's watch this. This is the Homegrown Revolution film. This is kind of very inspiring.